Isn't this an interesting hair color on me? Why do we have the light on? I'm driving to work, holding my phone. I probably shouldn't be. I wanted to talk real quick because you've been watching the previous videos were all about my hair color change and everything and why I did it and what that was all about. I think I got a chemical burn right here on the back. Feels like a scab. This feels like it's scabbed over. It really hurts. I don't want to talk about my hair. Okay. I want to talk about a video that I just watched about dissociative identity disorder. Multiplicity and Me is a YouTuber who posted, it's her most recent video that she posted at this time. It's like a 45-minute video with a doctor who specializes in dissociative identity disorder. And so far it's fascinating. I haven't finished watching it, but I wanted to talk real quick because it triggered a memory or a thought that made me really made sense. He just said, the question was, when someone goes to speak to a therapist about their trauma and they have dissociative identity disorder, does the therapist need to only speak to the person or only speak to the alters? And he said that there's people that do, either or, depending on what they think is better, but he suggests that it's somewhere down the middle. So for example, if you have a client who is having a hard time dealing with their trauma and alter comes out to start coloring in coloring books to calm the system, and that's all they want to do, and they don't really have any desire to address the trauma. They're there to protect the system, right? You've got to take it with a grain of salt and allow the coloring to occur and maybe draw out during therapy sessions when you need to. Otherwise, just doing what the alter feels comfortable doing, just to make her feel comfortable for 45 minutes to an hour every week, is not a productive session. It's not a productive session to just let her color. Just let her do what's comfortable for her. You gotta do what's uncomfortable if you're gonna make any progress, right? So it's not about pushing, of course. It's about being gentle. And if you take a child into child therapy, family therapy, where the child gets to do, they do like a play therapy. They play with toys, or they play games, or they color, and the therapist gently has to just nudge them ever so softly and get them to open up and talk while the game is going on, or while they're coloring, or while they're playing with the sand. And I've seen my children interact with the therapist before in a playful way, and sometimes they're with me and sometimes they're alone. This has been a while since they've been in play therapy. But I remember even when I was a kid, I was in play therapy, and I remember that's how they did it. They had me color, and they had me talk about what I was coloring and what I was drawing and what my family looked like and why this one has a sad face and why this one has an angry face. And I remember bits and pieces about that. But what I wanted to talk about was my therapist, Karen. Karen was my therapist for over a year. I think it was like 14 months. And she didn't challenge me in my therapy sessions. She did what I was comfortable with doing, and she basically allowed me to color the entire session. And I always left feeling like I didn't get anywhere. Like, yeah, it felt good, it felt comfortable. I didn't actually color. What we did was we bonded. What we did was we talked. What she did was validate everything I was feeling. And if I wanted someone to validate me, I would, Marco Polo a friend or family member, or journal or video journal. I get my validation elsewhere, and I do want validation from my therapist, but I also want to be challenged. So that's the only thing I was going to mention about this video that really triggered me to go, that's why I left. Me as a system, or me as an individual, recognized that I wasn't getting anywhere with Karen, and it wasn't something bitter or angry, although it kind of showed up as that at first, because she's all, you just don't want it badly enough. And I'm like, I do. And then I'm like, I'll prove her I do want it badly enough, but I don't need her to help me get me there, because she obviously isn't helping. And I did put a lot of my eggs in her basket, expecting her to help me cross the bridge. But she can't help me cross the bridge. Only I can cross the bridge. Only I can cross the bridge and challenge myself. She was there to help me and guide me and point me into the direction of the bridge. And, I don't even want to give her credit that she pointed me in the direction of the bridge, because what the bridge that she was pointing me towards is leaving him. And even though she kept saying up and down all the time, I'm not telling you have to leave him. That's your choice. I'm not saying that that's the answer. I'm not saying you should. That's not what I'm saying. Really? If that's why you're not saying that, how come you're not helping with any other alternatives? Why is it always about that? Whenever she validated me, she always gave me a contrast of I could leave him. And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. But then I wrote a very beautiful piece this morning. I wish I could read it and video film at the same time. But basically, the thing I wrote this morning was, why is there so much pressure to end a conflict? Why do so many people feel that they must end a conflict? Like, whether you have a conflict within yourself or a conflict with another person, it's uncomfortable, right? It's very uncomfortable. So that's why people want to end it. They want to fight. They want to flee. They want to freeze. They want to end it however they need to end it. They want to drink it away. They want to do whatever. But then the question was, why do we avoid sitting with the disagreement? If you have a disagreement within yourself and you have a disagreement with someone else, or whatever you have a disagreement with, a conflict, try sitting in the pocket of that disagreement. Just sit there for a second. Sit there for a second, and it may be uncomfortable, and it may be hard, and it may be raw, and it may be painful, but it's going to serve you to sit there. Not try to convince the other person, not try to convince yourself to agree with the other person, but seriously just sit with it, because while you're sitting, the mother of necessity is invention. So if you need to resolve a conflict, something that just keeps happening over and over again, something that just keeps coming up, no matter how many times you avoid it or fight it or flee from it or whatever, just sit with it. Sit with it and try to sit with it in a way that makes you breed and create. And there's a new way of handling the conflict within reach. It just needs time to gestation. It's in gestation. It just needs time to be born. So the idea of being born, the new idea being born, where does that come from? The idea of a resolution doesn't come forth through conflict. It comes, fighting the conflict. It comes forth through sitting with the conflict. So instead of fighting it, instead of avoiding it, instead of drinking and freezing it for a moment, sit with it. Let it marinate. Let it sit and thaw. Let it change form in its own natural way, sitting with it. And in many ways, I feel like that's what me moving to the bedroom did for me, is I didn't leave him like Karen suggested. I didn't stay with him like my mother-in-law suggested. I chose a third option. Instead of Instead of fighting the conflict or fleeing from the conflict, I'm sitting with the conflict. I'm sitting in the uncomfortableness of living with a man that I'm not sure I love anymore. I'm sitting with the conflict, with the idea of who I am and what's my identity and what's going on and who am I if I'm not the crystal that I thought I was. That's a very interesting conflict to come up with. I mean, not a conflict, but a solution, a strategy to come up with. I can marinate and invent a new solution to this problem without running away from it, without confronting it and forcing someone to see my side of it. Me and Jim have talked openly and honestly more than ever before. I think that's upside down. Yes, it is. All right, everyone's going to see my blonde hair for the first time. This is going to be interesting. Anyways, I got to go to work, so I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.